Hey guys, so today I'm continuing the Journal 3 analysis, and before I actually begin, I want to say that I'm going to be going a bit faster now. I realized that I've been going at a pretty slow pace before, and I've just been not really getting that far in the journal. But I'm going to start on this page. I'm going to go over like the basics. I'm going to say the codes, what I think about them, and if they aren't really important to Gravity Falls, then I'll either skip them or just like go over them very briefly. But anyway, let's start right here. What does it mean? And then he goes on to talk about the unified theory of weirdness. If you don't know, all these characters are from either Gravity Falls or some other show. Like, you can see some things from Rick and Morty, you can see Probabilitor, you can see Miss Pac-Man, you can see the Plumbus from Rick and Morty, you can see Bill Cipher, and yeah, you can see all this stuff. It's basically just a thing where it connects all the worlds, and it's basically confirming that Gravity Falls is connected to all these different universes, and this journal makes that canon. The Muse has spoken. Now keep in mind, Ford just continues to use the word Muse. He doesn't say Bill Cipher, he doesn't refer to any triangle demon, he just says my Muse. And he does this because he wants the identity secret. He doesn't want people to come across a journal and then figure out his real muse. But of course, later in the journal, he calls him Bill because he realizes that Bill tricked him. But anyway, if you see on the right page, you will see a diagram of weirdness dimension with the tear. This is an interesting visual representation of what the tear was that was talked about in the show. We didn't really know anything about it, but now we do. Alright, now on these pages is the schematics of the portal that Ford builds. And if you notice, there are a bunch of symbols on the left page. This is a code from Bill Cipher, so when I read this, just know it comes from Bill Cipher. I'll get this puppy up and running one day, and neither Time Baby nor the big frilly know-it-all will stop me. This is referring to Time Baby and Ford just stopping them if things go bad. Like in Weirdmageddon, Bill wants this portal so he can get creatures from his nightmare realm to the actual Gravity Falls town, and he just wants to rule the world, and the Time Baby will not be able to stop it because, as you know, in Weirdmageddon, Time Baby is destroyed, at least for that time period, even though he's going to be back in 1,000 years. These two pages are basically just talking about how Ford is meeting Fiddleford and how he wants Fiddleford to actually work on the portal. This is big for Ford because up until this point, he's basically been working alone, and he hasn't really talked to many people, because we know Ford as a character that just likes to keep to himself, at least until the future of Gravity Falls. Like in the actual show, he started reuniting with his brother and other people, but during this time period, he would rather be alone and do every work. But during this time period, he would rather be alone and just do the work himself. And anyway, if you see the symbols on the right page, again, this is a Bill code. One peek into my dimension, and this bumpkin lost his weak little mind. All he saw was me removing my exoskeleton to feed. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, Jack. This is important because we know that in A Tale of Two Stands, Fiddleford actually put his head in the portal, and that is what caused him to become crazy. He used the memory erasing gun, and he used that way too much because of what he saw in the portal. This is what he actually saw in the portal. And honestly, that's really surprising. Like, I didn't expect to see that. I thought he was seeing just a random place in the Nightmare Realm. These pages are again talking about Fiddleford, and they're going into detail about Fiddleford as a person and what Fiddleford was doing to help the project. And on the right page, you will see a Kubik's Cube, which is a clear reference to the Rubik's Cube. You all know what that is. Now on the left page, there's this diagram with an eye in it, and that eye obviously represents Bill Cipher. He's watching all, and there's a bunch of eyes in this journal and a bunch of different symbols surrounding that eye, and I don't know exactly what it means, but it's just basically a representation of Bill, and it's just showing that he's watching all the time. And on the right page, you will see codes Caesar @bash A1Z26, and on the right side, like right next to the red, there is a code from Ford. This isn't from Bill, this is from Ford. It says, I call this 4Ds, and that's like his own language basically. It's not Chinese, it's 4Ds. That's a pretty cool language. And below that, like below this paragraph on the right page, you will see another code from Bill. The time you're wasting delights me. And Bill says this because Ford has been spending so much time just trying to figure out how to build this portal, and it's just not going well because Ford doesn't know exactly how to do it, and then Ford is being tricked and wasting all this time just for this project. Now these pages are interesting because it's showing basically the backstory of Dipper and Mabel versus the future. We know that Ford went down to this crazy place with Fiddleford to get supplies, and it's Crash Site Omega This is just details on that. And we see on the right page magnet gun that appears in Dipper and Mabel versus the Future. And the radiation gloves are really special because in Scarioki, Grunkle Stan puts them on, and that was a really big hint that he was close to the author. And we didn't know this at the time, but the author was his brother, and that was speculated, especially because Grunkle Stan had those six-fingered gloves, so you would just assume that he was really close to whoever wrote the journals. These pages begin Ford and Fiddleford's journey to Crash Site Omega. It shows just all this text about what Ford has been doing, and it shows on the right page the platypus. This is another one of those entries that's just a pun, and there are a bunch of puns in Journal 3. Even though they're not really important to the story, they're still pretty funny. And if you look at the egg, yeah, that looks disgusting. I'm not eating that. These pages are detailing the island head beast that Ford finds. And on the right page, that's where the important stuff is. You see on the top paragraph, it shows Glass Shard Beach. And this was in the actual Gravity Falls show. It's what made us look at Glass Shard Beach, New Jersey, and it made us discover that the Pines twins did live in New Jersey as their childhood. And keep in mind, this was theorized before A Tale of Two Stands came out, so it wasn't confirmed at the time, but this page is what led us to theorize that. And on the bottom of the page, there is a code from Ford. I still recall that one summer Stanley and I hunted for the Jersey Devil in the Pine Barrens. Mom and Dad never believed that we really saw one. Now, if you don't know, the Jersey Devil is like a mythological creature that walks around New Jersey, and it's really hidden, and you probably wouldn't find it. It's probably not actually real, but it's one of those legends that it might be real, and personally I would say it's not real, even though other people definitely believe in it. Now, there's a secret tunnel behind Trembly Falls, and this shows the diagram of that. Now, if you look on the left page at the bottom, you'll see the cave paintings. It shows a three-headed dragon and a pterodactyl, and this is very old, so you would expect this to not appear in the Gravity Falls, but the pterodactyl did show up in The Land Before Swine Season 1, although there was never really a three-headed dragon. I don't know why that didn't appear in Gravity Falls if the pterodactyl did. Like, there could have been some kind of appearance with the three-headed dragon, but I guess these are too ancient for anything to actually happen with them in present day. These pages are just more about Ford and Fiddleford's journey, and it shows on the right page that can of beans that we saw in Into the Bunker. It shows that this is Fiddleford's favorite can of beans. It's his favorite type, and yeah, that's some pretty interesting backstory. But the journal is just mainly here to provide holes where the Gravity Falls show did not actually fill. So yeah, and anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys did enjoy this analysis. It was a bit longer than the other parts, but I'm going to try to do that more because I want to go fast paced, and I don't want this to end up being like 30 parts. But anyway, if you liked the video, be sure to give a thumbs up. Comment below to let me know what you think, and if you think I'm going too fast or too slow or something. And anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.